Hello friends, welcome to Tutelage, the career guru for nurses. In this new video, we are discussing some of the most expected questions from the renal system for the upcoming AIIMS NORCET 2020. First question, what is shown in the image? Here on the screen, you can see a surgical procedure done. There is a clue for the answer, that is, this is a type of urinary diversion. The correct answer is ileal condyle. In ileal condyle, the ureters are surgically resected from the bladder and attached to the section of the ileum at the distal small intestine. The end of the ileum is then brought out through an opening in the abdominal wall, and the abdominal wall and the opening is known as stoma. The urine is collected through a bag that attaches on the outside of the body over the stoma. The residual small bowel is reanastomosed with the residual terminal ileum. The distalmost 25 cm of the terminal ileum are avoided for this procedure because bile salts are reabsorbed from this part. This is usually done in patients whose bladder is removed due to carcinoma. Second question, in a patient with bladder cancer, the nurse should assess which of the following? Options are A. Suprapubic pain, B. Dysuria, C. Painless hematuria, D. Urine retention. The correct answer is option C. Painless hematuria. Painless hematuria is the most common clinical finding in bladder cancer. Third question, what is the first priority in managing care for a patient with renal colic? Option A. Do not allow the client to ingest fluids. Option B. Encourage the client to drink at least 500 ml of water each hour. Option C. Request the central supply department to send supplies for straining urine. Option D. Administer an opioid analgesics as prescribed. The correct answer is option D. Administer an opioid analgesic as prescribed. Because client can experience sudden severe pain in the flank area known as renal colic. It is considered an emergency situation and require pain management. Withholding fluids will make urine more concentrated and stones more difficult to pass naturally. Forcing large quantities of fluid may cause hydronephrosis if urine is not prevented from flowing past calculi. So considering all the options, the priority nursing action should be management of pain. Fourth question, along with nausea and severe flank pain, a female client with renal calculi has pain in groin and bladder. It can be because of option A. Nephritis, option B. Referred pain, option C. Urine retention, option D. Additional stone formation. The correct answer is it is due to referred pain, option B. The pain associated with the renal colic due to calculi is commonly referred to the groin and bladder in female clients and to the testicles in male clients. Fifth question, for a patient who is scheduled for an intravenous pyelogram, IVP, which of the following measures would be most important for the nurse to include in preparation? Option A. Ensuring adequate fluid intake on the day of the test. Option B. Preparing the patient for the possibility of bladder spasm during the test. Option C. Checking the patient's history for allergy to iodine. Option D. Determining when the client last had a bowel movement. The correct answer is option C. Checking the patient's history for allergy to iodine. This is because a client scheduled for an IVP should be assessed for allergies to iodine and shellfish. Clients with such allergies may be allergic to IVP dye and be at risk for an anaphylactic reaction. So this is the most important intervention. We should check for allergy. Other intervention like adequate fluid intake is important after the examination, and bladder spasm are not common during an IVP. And bowel preparation is important before the IVP to allow visualization of ureters and bladder, but checking for allergy is the most important here. Sixth question, which of the following is the most initial manifestation of acute renal failure? Option A. Dysuria, option B. Anuria, option C. Hematuria, option D. Oliguria. The correct answer is oliguria, because oliguria is the most common initial symptom of acute renal failure. Anuria is rarely the initial symptom. Anuria may be the later symptom. Dysuria and hematuria are not associated with acute renal failure. Seventh question. Allopurinol Ciloprem is prescribed for the patient with renal calculi. Nurse should teach about which of the following adverse effect of the medicine. In this question, the adverse effect of allopurinol is asked. Options are A. Retinopathy, B. Maculopapular rash, option C. Nasal congestion, option D. Dizziness. The correct answer is option B. Maculopapular rash. Allopurinol or Ciloprem is used to treat renal calculi composed of uric acid. That is important. Adverse effect of allopurinol include drowsiness, maculopapular rash, anemia, abdominal pain, nausea and vomiting. Then, clients should be instructed to report the rashes and unusual bleeding or bruising. Other options like retinopathy, nasal congestion, dizziness are not adverse effect of allopurinol. Eighth question. The patient's blood urea nitrogen concentration is elevated in acute renal failure. What may be the cause of the finding? Option A. Fluid retention. Option B. Hemolysis of red blood cells. Option C. Below normal metabolic rate. Option D. Reduced renal blood flow. The correct answer is reduced renal blood flow. Urea, which is the end product of protein metabolism, is excreted by the kidneys. Impairment in renal function caused by reduced renal blood flow result in an increase in the plasma urea level. Fluid retention, hemolysis of blood cells and lower metabolic rate do not cause elevated BUN value. Ninth question. Which of the following symptoms would most likely indicate the patient has pyelonephritis? Option A. Ascites. Option B. Costovertebral angle tenderness. Option C. Polyuria. Option D. Nausea and vomiting. Correct answer is option B. Costovertebral angle tenderness. The common symptoms of pyelonephritis include costovertebral angle tenderness, burning on urination, urinary urgency or frequency, chills, fever and fatigue. Ascites, polyuria and nausea vomiting are not indicative of pyelonephritis. 10th question. In a patient with acute pyelonephritis, which of the following disorder most commonly lead to chronic pyelonephritis? Option A. Ascites. Option B. Recurrent urinary tract infection. Option C. Acute renal failure. Option D. Glomerulonephritis. The correct answer is recurrent urinary tract infection. Chronic pyelonephritis is most commonly the result of recurrent urinary tract infection. Acute renal failure is not a cause of chronic pyelonephritis. Glomerulonephritis is an immunologic disorder and not infectious disorder. 11th question. Which of the following should be included in the patient's plan of care during dialysis therapy? Option A. Limit the client's visitors. Option B. Monitor the client's blood pressure. Option C. Pad the side rails of the bed. Option D. Keep the client on nothing by mouth, that is NPO status. The correct answer is monitor the client's blood pressure. Because hypotension is a complication associated with peritoneal dialysis, the nurse records intake and output, monitors vital signs and observes the patient's behavior. 12th question. Aluminum hydroxide gel, Ampho-Gel, is prescribed for the client with chronic renal failure. What is the action of the drug? Option A. Relieving the pain of gastric hyperacidity. Option B. Preventing the Curling's stress ulcers. Option C. Binding phosphate in the intestine. Option D. Reversing metabolic acidosis. The correct answer is option C. Binding phosphate in the intestine. A client's renal failure develops hyperphosphatemia that causes a corresponding excretion of the body's calcium stores, leading to the renal osteodystrophy. To decrease this loss, aluminum hydroxide gel is prescribed to bind the phosphate in the intestine and facilitate their excretion. Gastric hyperacidity is not necessarily a problem associated with a chronic renal failure. Antacids will not prevent Curling's stress ulcers and do not affect metabolic acidosis. 13th question. A patient is receiving continuous ambulatory peritoneal dialysis (CAPD). The nurse should assess the patients for which of the following sign of peritoneal infection? Option A. Cloudy dialysate fluid. Option B. Swelling in the legs. Option C. Poor drainage of the dialysate fluid. Option D. Redness at the catheter insertion site. The correct answer is option A. Cloudy dialysate fluid. Cloudy drainage indicate bacterial activity in the peritoneum. Other signs and symptoms of infection are fever, hyperactive bowel sounds, and abdominal pain. Swollen legs may indicate a heart failure. Poor drainage of dialysate fluid is probably the result of a kinked catheter. Redness at the insertion site indicate local infection, not peritonitis. However, a local infection that is left untreated can progress to peritonitis. 14th question. A client with acute renal failure has an increase in the serum potassium level. The patient is at risk for Option A. Cardiac arrest. Option B. Pulmonary edema. Option C. Circulatory collapse. Option D. Hemorrhage. The correct answer is cardiac arrest. Hyperkalemia places the client at risk for serious cardiac arrhythmias and cardiac arrest. Increased potassium levels do not result in pulmonary edema, circulatory collapse, or hemorrhage. 15th question. In oliguric phase of acute renal failure, the nurse should assess the client for Option A. Pulmonary edema. Option B. Metabolic alkalosis. Option D. Hypotension. Option D. Hypokalemia. The correct answer is option A. Pulmonary edema. Pulmonary edema can develop during the oliguric phase of acute renal failure because of decreased urine output and fluid retention. Metabolic acidosis develops because the kidneys cannot excrete hydrogen ions and bicarbonate is used to buffer the hydrogen. Hypertension may develop as a result of fluid retention. Hyperkalemia develops as the kidneys lose the ability to excrete potassium. 16th question. During the first hemodialysis treatment of a patient, he develops a headache, confusion, and nausea. The nurse should assess the patient further for Option A. Disequilibrium syndrome. Option B. Myocardial infarction. Option C. Air embolism. Option D. Peritonitis. The correct answer is option A. Disequilibrium syndrome. Symptoms of disequilibrium syndrome includes headache, nausea, and vomiting, confusion, and even seizures. Disequilibrium syndrome typically occurs near the end or after the completion of hemodialysis treatment. It occurs due to rapid change in solute composition and osmolality of the extracellular fluid. 17th question. After a peritoneal dialysis, the nurse should expect the patient to exhibit which of the following? Option A. Hematuria. Option B. Weight loss. Option C. Hypertension. Option D. Increased urine output. The correct answer is option B. Weight loss. Because weight loss is expected because of the removal of the fluid. The client's weight loss is one of the measure of the effectiveness of the treatment. Blood pressure usually decreases due to removal of fluid. Hematuria would not occur after completion of peritoneal dialysis. Dialysis has only minimal effect on the damaged kidney's ability to produce urine. Thank you for watching Happy Learning with Tutelage, the career guru for nurses. For more updates, subscribe our channel.